The first alien ships appeared above Earth like dark, silent moons, gliding across the sky with an elegance that made the planet's own satellites look small and fragile. They were enormous, shaped like jagged steel and glass, glowing with an eerie light that seemed alive. From the crowded streets of New York to the deserts of Africa, from the mountains of Europe to the jungles of South America, people stopped in their tracks. Phones were forgotten, cars halted, animals cowered, and a strange, cold silence swept across the world. For the first time in human history, the sky itself seemed to be watching and judging. Then the voices came. Not in words humans could immediately understand, but in tones and frequencies that vibrated through buildings, shaking glass and metal. The aliens had a way of communicating that felt like a laugh and a warning at the same time. Translations came quickly through emergency broadcasts and satellites. "You are fragile. You are weak. You do not belong among the stars." Their voices echoed through the airwaves, mocking humanity with a cruel, calculated rhythm. Children clutched their parents' hands, hiding behind trembling arms. Soldiers, trained to face war and chaos, stared at the sky in disbelief. Entire cities seemed to shrink beneath the looming presence of these invaders. Leaders met in underground bunkers and command centers, whispering plans that felt impossible, even to speak aloud. The aliens laughed at every attempt at defiance. They were confident, cruel, and utterly certain that humanity was nothing. In the streets, panic spread like wildfire. People ran in every direction, not knowing where to go or what to do. Cars collided, sirens screamed, and smoke rose from factories and homes that had caught fire from stray alien strikes. Governments called for calm, but calm was a word that no one could understand anymore. Humanity felt small, fragile, and powerless in a universe that suddenly seemed too big, too cold, and too hostile. But in the chaos, there were sparks of courage. In basements and hidden bunkers, in remote villages and on isolated islands, humans whispered words of hope. They did not speak of surrender. They spoke of survival. And somewhere deep in the hearts of soldiers, engineers, and ordinary people, a quiet fire began to burn. They had been underestimated before. They had been told they were weak before. And they knew that underestimating humans was always a mistake. Commander Elena Voss looked out from the bridge of a military command station hidden deep under the Rocky Mountains. Her face was pale, but her eyes were sharp and steady. Around her, officers moved quickly, trying to process the impossible, an alien armada that could crush humanity in moments. "They think we are fragile," she said, her voice low but filled with steel. "Let them laugh. Let them mock. They have no idea what humans are capable of." Above her, the alien ships moved with terrifying precision. They were vast, almost incomprehensible in size, and their weapons glinted with a light that seemed to promise death. But even as fear pressed on every human chest, there was resistance. Engineers and scientists, working in secret for years, had been building ships that were fast, clever, and powerful. Hidden starships waited in orbit, on the far side of the moon, and in secret bases across the solar system. Humanity was preparing. Humanity had a plan. Humanity was about to awaken. On Earth, news channels tried to cover the events, but no camera could capture the terror and wonder of it. People posted videos online, but the images did not do justice to the size of the ships, the glow of their energy weapons, or the feeling of insignificance that washed over the world. And yet, as images of destruction spread, so did images of courage. Firefighters rescued trapped families. Volunteers brought food and water to shelters. Soldiers protected civilians, refusing to abandon their posts even when the sky itself seemed to threaten their existence. In small towns, people sang songs and lit candles. In refugee camps, mothers whispered to their children, "We will survive. We are stronger than they know." The aliens mocked humanity, yes, but humanity's response was not silence. It was defiance. It was the courage to stand, even when standing seemed impossible. In orbit, satellite feeds picked up glimpses of humanity's secret preparations. Starships, some sleek and new, some old and patched with ingenuity, began to shift in position. Lights blinked in hidden docks, engines hummed, weapons systems warmed. The armada that the aliens did not know existed was readying itself. Humanity had been underestimated, but it had not been idle. It had learned patience, strategy, and the stubborn persistence that had always defined the species. And then, above all, there was the feeling that would carry the world through the days to come. Hope. Even as cities burned, even as people trembled, humanity knew something that the aliens could not understand. Strength was not measured by size alone. Strength was measured by courage, by determination, by the willingness to protect loved ones, and to rise again no matter how many times you fell. The alien voices continued to mock. You are fragile. You are weak. But on Earth, behind every frightened gaze, behind every trembling hand, humanity's spirit clenched like a fist. They were fragile, perhaps, but fragility was only one part of them. Beneath it beat hearts that would not break, minds that would not surrender, and a will that would one day make the universe remember their name. And so, as the sky darkened with alien ships and the world held its breath, humanity waited, not for rescue, not for mercy, but for the moment when they would awaken, when their hidden steel would rise, and when the universe would see that humans were never meant to be mocked. While the skies above Earth were filled with alien shadows, humanity did not give in to fear. In secret corners of the world, hidden bunkers, and silent orbital stations, humans worked tirelessly. Scientists adjusted engines and weapons with trembling hands, but eyes full of determination. Engineers connected wires and reinforced hulls, whispering prayers for luck. This was humanity's secret, humanity's hope, the steel armada that the aliens could not see, a fleet born from decades of planning and quiet courage. Commander Elena Voss walked among the engineers in a hidden orbital dock. She ran her fingers along the cold metal of a ship hull. We were mocked, she said softly. But they have no idea what we are capable of. Not yet. Her voice was calm, but it carried the fire of someone who had lived through fear and had chosen to rise above it. Around her, technicians nodded. Every bolt tightened, every system checked, was a small act of defiance against the mocking voices in the sky. On Earth, whispers of resistance began to spread. News of secret fleets, hidden starships, and advanced technology leaked through encrypted channels. Civilians in remote towns and cities shared rumors, stories of humans preparing to strike back. These stories were small sparks, but sparks that spread hope. Mothers held their children closer, whispering that humans were not weak. Soldiers tightened their grips on weapons, remembering why they fought, not for glory, but for home, for family, for Earth itself. Far from Earth, in a moon base hidden on the dark side, human pilots prepared. They ran through simulations, practicing, maneuvers and evasions that no alien could predict. Every pilot knew the danger was enormous. Every pilot knew they were outnumbered. But they also knew one thing that the aliens could never understand. Humans fought with heart, and heart could not be measured by size or number. Arik Kane, a young pilot with bright eyes and a stubborn grin, checked his starfighter. They think we are fragile, he muttered to his co-pilot, but they've never seen humans fight for home. The co-pilot, a quiet engineer named Lila, smiled faintly. Then let's make them remember. The Armada was not just machines and steel. It was people. People who had chosen to stand, who had chosen to resist. Fleet commanders coordinated, through secure channels, moving ships into secret positions. Each fleet had been trained in isolation, never knowing the full plan until the moment arrived. This was humanity's edge. While the aliens had relied on arrogance, humans relied on ingenuity, and ingenuity ran in every part of human life. Ships were small enough to evade detection but packed with hidden firepower. Weapons were designed to exploit alien weaknesses, learned through years of careful observation. Even supplies and fuel were hidden in clever places, so no sudden strike could cut humanity off. This was not desperation. It was preparation. This was patience. This was quiet rebellion. On Earth, civilians did their part. Farmers sent food and water to secret supply depots. Scientists broadcasted encrypted messages of hope to hidden pilots. Engineers in abandoned factories tested prototypes, soldering wires under flickering lights, dreaming of the moment their work would save lives. Each act, no matter how small, was a piece of the resistance. Each act, no matter how quiet, was a reminder that humans never gave up. The aliens above still laughed, still broadcasted their mockery. You are fragile. You are weak. You cannot survive in space. Their words echoed through Earth, shaking buildings, rattling nerves. But humans began to whisper back in secret, not to the aliens, but to each other. We are not fragile. We will rise. We will fight. That whisper became a chant. That chant became a promise. That promise became steel. And then the first movements began. From hidden orbital docks, human ships rose like shadows, sleek and quiet. Engines hummed. In the vacuum of space, pilots gripped controls, hearts pounding with adrenaline, eyes fixed on distant alien vessels that loomed like mount. The sky above Earth was no longer a silent expanse of stars. It had become a battlefield. Alien ships glimmered like dark mountains in orbit, massive and unyielding, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Cities below trembled under the weight of their presence, and millions of people huddled in fear. Humanity had waited patiently, prepared in secret, but now the first clash had begun. The aliens struck first. From high orbit, they unleashed beams of energy that cut through the atmosphere, ripping apart buildings, bridges, and highways. Smoke spiraled toward the clouds, and the world below erupted in panic. People ran blindly, shouting, crying, clutching their loved ones. Soldiers fired at empty sky, their bullets meaningless against the invaders. Entire fleets seemed powerless, and for a moment it felt like humanity would crumble. But then, from hidden corners of the solar system, the human steel armada awakened. Starships that had been lying in secret orbital docks, moon bases, and even on Mars rose like shadows into the void. Engines flared with controlled fire, cutting through darkness. The ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but every human aboard carried something far stronger than size: courage, ingenuity, and the determination to protect home. Commander Elena Voss watched from the bridge of the Iron Resolve, her eyes scanning the vast expanse. "Steady," she commanded. "We fight not because they are smaller or weaker, but because we are humans. They may mock us, but they will see our strength." Her officers nodded, gripping controls with a mix of fear and fierce determination. This was the moment humanity had prepared for, and there was no turning back. The first human ships moved with precision, using tactics that the aliens could not anticipate. They darted through asteroid belts, weaving between fragments of rock and ice, using the environment itself as a shield. Energy beams that would have obliterated larger ships glanced harmlessly off strategically placed defenses. Mines hidden. In-orbital debris erupted under alien hulls, sending shockwaves that split metal like paper. The aliens paused, confusion spreading across their ranks. They had expected fragility, weakness, chaos. But instead, they found strategy, unity, and intelligence. Their laughter faltered. Beams that once destroyed cities now ricocheted harmlessly against cunningly crafted shields. Ships they assumed were slow and easy prey darted and struck with deadly precision. Humanity's first clash was not just survival, it was defiance. On the surface, civilians watched with wide eyes. Screens flickered with images of the battle in orbit. Some families wept in relief, seeing the ships they had been told were myths finally confronting the invaders. Children pointed at the sky, whispering to each other that humans could fight. Across the world, soldiers and volunteers cheered quietly, even as chaos raged around them. Humanity's courage was contagious. Young pilot Auric Kane, gripping the controls of his nimble fighter, dove into the heart of an alien squadron. Energy beams blazed around him, lighting up the void. His co-pilot, Lila, called out warnings, but he moved with instinct, weaving through fire like it was second nature. "We are not fragile," he shouted over comms. "We are humans, and we fight for home." His words were not just encouragement, they carried the spirit of Earth itself, a roar of determination that even the aliens could feel. Every strike, every maneuver, every act of bravery carried humanity forward. Ships worked in concert, communicating silently through encrypted signals. One human vessel would draw fire, another would strike from behind, and still another would disrupt alien energy fields with magnetic pulses. The aliens realized that they were facing something different. These were not simple beings to crush. They were unpredictable, clever, and united. The battle spread across the skies of Earth and beyond. Moon bases fired missiles that tore through alien supply lines. Orbital platforms flared with plasma bursts that forced enemy ships to retreat. Even ships on Mars joined the fray, cutting off reinforcements and creating confusion among alien ranks. Humanity's strategy was clear: defend, disrupt, and survive, while showing the universe that weakness was only a word, not a fact. Commander Voss coordinated her fleet with precision. "Target the supply vessels," she ordered, eyes focused on blinking lights representing alien ships. "Force them to retreat. Make them remember what it means to underestimate humans." Her crew moved as one, executing maneuvers that had been drilled for years in secret. Every explosion, every successful strike, every evasive maneuver reinforced the same message. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity had awakened. And then, above the Earth, a moment of unity flashed across the battlefield. Human ships from every corner of the solar system formed a synchronized line, a ribbon of steel and fire against the dark alien fleet. For the first time, the aliens hesitated, as if they could feel the weight of human will pressing against them. They had mocked humans for being weak, for being fragile, but now they were seeing the truth in motion. As the first clash ended, both sides withdrew briefly, battered and shocked. Alien ships shimmered in the void, repairing damage and recalculating strategies. Human ships hovered, engines cooling, crews gasping for air as adrenaline surged through their veins. And yet, despite the exhaustion, there was no fear. Only a fierce, burning pride. Humanity had survived the first test. Humanity had fought back. Humanity had shown the first spark of the fire that would define them in the universe. On Earth, people looked to the skies with tears in their eyes. Buildings lay in ruins, cities were scarred, and the shadow of alien weapons still lingered, but hope had returned. Humanity had not just survived, it had fought. The mocking voices in the sky were still there, but their certainty had cracked. The fragile humans, they thought, had claws and teeth, courage and heart. The first clash was a warning. Earth was not powerless, and somewhere in the heart of every human watching, a quiet thought began to grow. We are fragile, perhaps, but fragility does not mean weakness. We are human, and humans do not surrender. The battle above Earth had only been the beginning. The alien Armada, once confident and mocking, now realized that humans were not easily crushed. Across the solar system, human fleets began to move with precision, striking from unexpected angles and using every advantage the void could offer. Every asteroid, every moon, every abandoned station became a weapon or a shield. Humanity was turning the darkness of space into a battlefield of strategy, courage, and steel. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, staring at the stars. Her ship was small compared to the alien cruisers, yet it carried the spirit of Earth. "They expected fear," she said, voice steady and sharp. "They expected surrender. Instead, they will see what humans can do when their home is threatened." Her crew nodded, hands firm on controls, hearts steady. They were humans. They fought with the cunning, determination, and audacity that no alien could have predicted. From Mars' orbit, human battleships emerged like shadows, sliding silently through the void. Using asteroid belts as cover, they launched surprise attacks on alien supply convoys. Plasma torpedoes streaked through the darkness, hitting fuel tanks and communication arrays. Alien ships exploded in a flash of light, their forces scattering in confusion. Each strike was small, but together they created a ripple of fear across the enemy armada. Even the smallest human ship carried hope. Fighter pilots darted through the gaps in alien formations, weaving between colossal cruisers with skill and precision. Young Auric Kane led a squadron through a minefield near Jupiter's moons, using hidden magnetic fields to redirect alien energy blasts. His co-pilot Lila laughed despite the danger. "They said we were fragile," she said. "I think we're showing them how wrong they were." Kane grinned, maneuvering his ship to cut off an alien retreat. Humanity's courage was contagious, and every human fighter carried that fire into the void. The aliens were growing frustrated. Their weapons, so devastating against unprepared civilizations, were failing against humans. Shields absorbed blasts, evasive maneuvers outsmarted targeting systems, and humans used the environment itself as a weapon. Every comet, asteroid, and space debris became part of the human strategy. They were unpredictable, unyielding, and united. The alien commanders began to whisper among themselves, uncertainty creeping into their ranks. On Earth, the people watched the skies with a mixture of awe and fear. Broadcasts showed glimpses of the battles, flashes of light against the darkness, explosions in orbit, and tiny ships darting where giants loomed. Families held each other close. Children pointed upward, whispering, "They are fighting." Humans are fighting. Even in the chaos, hope blossomed. Humanity's courage had begun to shine like a beacon, proving that strength was not measured by size or number, but by heart. Commander Voss coordinated attacks across multiple fronts. "Focus on the supply lines," she ordered, eyes scanning the tactical screens. "Cut off their reinforcements. Make them retreat." Human ships moved like a living organism, each action connected to another, each strike purposeful. They did not have the size of the alien fleet, but they had intelligence, planning, and unwavering resolve. That was their edge. Meanwhile, engineers on Earth worked tirelessly to maintain communications, repair damaged systems, and provide real-time data to the fleets. Civilians volunteered to transport resources, keep power grids running, and support the war effort however they could. Every contribut. The battle across the solar system raged on, but somewhere deep inside every human, a new feeling took hold: pride. Cities were scarred, moons bore the marks of conflict, and fleets moved tirelessly across the void. Yet the spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever. Earth had survived the first clash, and now, even as the aliens regrouped, humans were showing their true strength, not just with steel and weapons, but with heart. On Earth, families huddled together, watching the skies. Children pointed at the distant flashes of light in orbit and whispered to each other, "Humans are fighting. We are not weak." Mothers held their children closer, tears shining in their eyes, and fathers clenched their fists in quiet determination. Even as alien weapons struck cities, hope did not falter. Humanity had discovered something the invaders could not understand: The courage to fight for each other, the will to protect home no matter the cost. Commander Elena Voss looked out from the bridge of the Iron Resolve. Her crew had endured hours of relentless engagement with alien ships, yet their faces shone with determination. "We fight for more than strategy," she said softly, her voice echoing across the command deck. "We fight for every person on Earth. We fight for our children, for our families, for hope. That is what makes us strong." The crew nodded, knowing that their courage came not from technology alone, but from the fire that burned within every human heart. The aliens, massive and intimidating, had expected easy victories. They had believed in their strength and humanity's fragility, but they had miscalculated. Every human pilot, engineer, and soldier was proving that courage could outmatch brute power. Young pilot Auric Kane led a squadron through the debris of shattered moons, cutting off an alien supply convoy. His co-pilot Lila shouted warnings, but Kane smiled, weaving through fire. "They mocked us," he said, "but they've never faced humans defending home." His words spread across comms, not as commands, but as inspiration. Every human fleet heard them and felt them in their hearts. In space, human ingenuity was unstoppable. Starships used gravitational forces to bend alien, fire back at them, while hidden drones sabotaged enemy communications. Small fighter ships darted around enormous cruisers, striking with precision and disappearing before retaliation. The aliens were skilled, but their arrogance blinded them to human creativity. They had assumed size and technology would be enough, but humanity fought with imagination and love, and neither could be measured by power scales. Back on Earth, civilians were playing their own part. Engineers worked tirelessly to maintain communications and provide navigation for fleets scattered across the solar system. Volunteers delivered supplies to refugee camps and shelters. Families rebuilt communities even as the battle raged above. Every act of courage, no matter how small, became part of the resistance. Every hand extended in help was a part of the fight. Humanity's strength was not only in steel, it was in compassion, in unity, and in relentless determination. As the war reached its peak, Voss coordinated a daring strike near Jupiter's moons. Alien forces had gathered in massive formations, intending to crush humanity once and for all. The human fleet moved with careful precision, using every asteroid and debris field to their advantage. Ships darted in and out of shadows, mines detonated at perfect timing, and alien cruisers found themselves trapped by tactics they could not predict. Humanity's battle was not only about survival, it was about proving that determination, courage, and heart could outmatch even the most advanced technology. During the engagement, a small human vessel carried a group of wounded soldiers back to Earth. The pilot, a young woman named Rena, looked at the stars streaking past. Tears ran down her cheeks as she whispered, "We are fragile, yes, but our hearts are unstoppable." Those words, carried across the fleet through encrypted channels, became a mantra for every human fighting the battle. Courage spread like wildfire, igniting every crew member with purpose beyond strategy or orders. Even alien commanders began to notice the difference. They had mocked humanity for its size, for its apparent weakness, for its fragility. But they now saw that humans fought not just with weapons, but with something no alien force could replicate: heart. The determination to survive, the refusal to surrender, and the willingness to risk everything for home made humans unpredictable, dangerous, and unforgettable. As the human fleet pressed forward, defending supply lines and cutting off reinforcements, a moment of unity emerged. Across the solar system, starships moved as one organism, striking in perfect coordination. Each act of bravery, each clever tactic, each human heart willing to risk everything created a symphony of resistance that reverberated across space. Humanity was no longer just surviving, they were winning respect, even from the enemy. On Earth, people looked up at the night sky, eyes shining with awe and hope. They saw tiny flashes of light moving against the darkness and knew their friends, families, and fellow humans were out there, fighting to protect every inch of their home. Tears flowed freely, but they were tears of pride, of courage, and of certainty that humanity would endure. The mocking voices of the aliens were no longer terrifying. They were just a challenge that humans had already begun to meet. Commander Voss, watching the movements of her fleet, allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had discovered a truth. The universe would never forget. Strength was not measured by size alone. It was measured by courage, by unity, by the fire that burned in every human heart. The aliens could have weapons, power, and numbers, but humans had something stronger, a reason to fight, and the will to never give up. And somewhere, across every planet and moon, every ship and bunker, every home and street, that fire of humanity shone brightly. The aliens had mocked their fragility, but humans had discovered their strength. And in that discovery, hope was reborn. The heart of humanity had awakened, and it was unstoppable. Humanity had survived the first battles, but the war was far from over. The aliens, humiliated by unexpected resistance, began to gather their greatest strength. Massive fleets, larger and more menacing than anything humanity had seen before, moved through space like dark storms. Their weapons glowed with deadly intensity, their formations precise, and their purpose terrifyingly clear: to crush humanity once and for all. On Earth, the people watched the skies with growing unease. Every screen, every news broadcast carried images of alien ships multiplying in orbit, black shapes blotting out stars. Panic began to creep back into hearts. Yet even in fear, humans remembered the victories of the past. They remembered the courage of pilots like Eric Kane, the ingenuity of engineers who turned debris into shields, and the relentless determination of every soldier and civilian who had refused to give up. Humanity's spirit had been tested, and it had held. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, eyes scanning tactical screens. The alien fleet approaching was enormous, their numbers overwhelming, but she did not falter. "They think they can break us," she said, voice steady and resolute. "They are wrong. Humanity is not fragile. Humanity is fire, courage, and steel. We fight, and we endure." Her officers nodded, hands firm on controls, hearts beating, in sync with her determination. Every human aboard that ship knew the stakes. Every human knew what had to be done. Across the solar system, the human fleets took their positions. Ships rose from hidden docks, outposts, and orbital stations. Engines hummed like the heartbeat of a determined species. Frigates, destroyers, and fighters formed lines of calculated precision, weaving through asteroid fields and hiding in the shadows of moons. Even small, nimble ships overlooked by the aliens before were now moving with deadly purpose. Every human pilot carried courage, training, and hope into the void. The aliens struck first, unleashing massive energy beams across the void. Explosions flared near Mars, shattering the silence of space. Human ships dodged and weaved, using gravity, wells and magnetic fields to redirect enemy fire. Torpedoes streaked across the darkness, targeting supply lines and communication arrays. Every strike had a purpose. Every maneuver was calculated to disrupt the aliens' advantage. Humanity's fleet moved as one organism, a single body of steel and fire, united by the determination to protect Earth. In the middle of the chaos, Eric Kane led a daring strike through a pocket of alien cruisers. Energy beams flared around him, as Lila called out warnings, but he moved with instinct honed through months of training and countless simulations. "For Earth," he shouted over the comms. His words were not just battle cries. They were the embodiment of every human who had ever been told they were weak. Every pilot in the fleet heard them and felt a surge of courage. The aliens realized too late that their arrogance had been their downfall. Their weapons were powerful, yes, but they had relied on brute force and certainty. Humans, however, were unpredictable. They adapted, they strategized, and they fought with heart. Smaller ships darted through gaps between massive cruisers, while larger vessels created traps that bent alien fire back against them. Mines hidden in asteroid belts detonated with precision, crippling enemy reinforcements. The alien commanders had never faced a species like this, one that used fear as fuel, not as a weapon. On Earth, the people looked to the skies. They had seen humans fight before, but never like this. They watched as tiny ships moved with deadly PR. The alien fleet had regrouped, larger and more terrifying than ever. Their ships, stretching like dark clouds across the void, glimmered with a deadly intensity. Every alien weapon hummed with potential destruction. Every formation radiated precision and menace. They believed the humans were exhausted, weakened, and ready to crumble. They were wrong. Humanity was awake, and now it would roar. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, her eyes scanning the tactical map. The aliens were more numerous, but her fleet was united, battle-hardened, and fueled by a determination no machine could match. "They think this will end us," she said, her voice calm and resolute. "They think we are fragile. Let's show them the truth." Her officers straightened, their hands steady on controls. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier knew that this was the moment that would define humanity in the galaxy. From hidden docks across Earth, Mars, and the Moon, human ships launched into the void. Engines flared, illuminating the darkness with fire that symbolized defiance. Fighters darted like swarms of determined bees, weaving through massive alien cruisers. Torpedoes streaked across space, mines detonated in chains, and plasma pulses disrupted enemy shields. Every move was calculated yet flexible, adapting to the alien response. Humans were not just surviving, they were dictating the pace of battle. In the chaos, young pilot Arik Kane led a daring assault squadron through the heart of the alien formation. "For Earth," he shouted over comms. His co-pilot Lila grinned, despite the flashing lights and the near misses of enemy fire. "Let's show them what humans can do!" Their small, nimble ship dodged beams, striking at key points, creating openings for larger human vessels to follow. The aliens could predict size and numbers, but humans fought with unpredictability and ingenuity. The aliens responded with fury. Massive energy cannons fired across the void, tearing trails through space and creating explosions that lit up moons and asteroids. The human fleet felt the tremor of destruction, but they did not falter. Shields held, engines maneuvered, and every human heart pumped courage into their ships. Each pilot, each crew member, drew strength from the collective will of their species. Humanity was not just fighting, it was roaring, alive with the fire of determination. On Earth, families watched the battle unfold through broadcasts and live feeds. Eyes widened at the flashes of light, the trails of destruction, and the ships, darting like lightning against giants. Children whispered, "Humans can win." Parents clutched each other, hope and fear mingling in their hearts. Civilians volunteered, sent supplies, and held shelters open. Every act, every heartbeat, every breath on Earth became part of the resistance. Humanity fought with steel and fire, but also with unity, courage, and hope. Commander Voss coordinated a daring maneuver. "Split the fleet," she ordered, her eyes sharp. "Draw their focus, then strike at the heart." Smaller ships led feints, diverting alien fire. Larger battleships surged forward with plasma cannons blazing, targeting the command cruisers. Engineers in orbit fed real-time data, guiding missiles and fighters into positions where even the aliens could not anticipate. Strategy, courage, and ingenuity combined. making humans an unstoppable force. The aliens, once confident, were now desperate. Their formation faltered as human attacks pierced their ranks. Explosions erupted in the void, lighting the darkness with fiery brilliance. Ships that had seemed invincible were forced into retreat, their shields cracking under relentless pressure. Humanity's roar was not just sound, it was presence, defiance, and the fire of countless hearts united in a single purpose. Auric Kane, racing through the chaos, fired torpedoes that struck a massive alien flagship. The explosion rocked the void, sending debris in every direction. "For Earth!" he shouted, his voice carrying across the comms to inspire every human ship. Lila laughed, dodging fragments, feeling the pulse of victory. Every human vessel echoed that courage. Every strike carried the memory of the mocking words once spoken. "You are fragile." They were fragile in body, perhaps, but in spirit, humans were unstoppable. Even alien commanders began to sense their miscalculation. The species they had thought weak, fragile, and easy prey was relentless, clever, and united. They adapted to every assault, recovered from every strike, and pressed forward with courage that no technology could crush. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now the cost of that mistake was becoming clear. Above all, humanity fought with heart. It was not just machines or weapons. It was love for family, loyalty to friends, the desire to protect home, and the fire to never give in. Every explosion, every maneuver, every act of defiance carried that essence. The aliens had mocked humans for fragility, but humans had turned that mockery into a battle cry, and the universe could hear it loud and clear. As the battle reached its peak, the human fleet executed a final coordinated strike. Feints drew alien fire, while hidden squadrons targeted command ships. Explosions erupted in brilliant bursts, alien formations splintered, and the massive Armada began to retreat, battered and stunned. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed. The sky, once dark with fear, now blazed with the brilliance of human steel and courage. Commander Voss watched as the last alien cruisers fled. Her crew cheered quietly, tears in their eyes. Humanity had proven its strength. Humanity had awakened. The mocking voices in the void were gone, replaced by the sound of a species that refused to be broken. Humanity had roared, and the universe would never forget. On Earth, people poured into streets, eyes toward the sky, hearts lifted with pride. They had seen humans fight and win, and hope blossomed across the world. Children laughed, families embraced, and every survivor felt the truth deep in their hearts. Humans were not fragile. Humans were unstoppable. Auric Kane, returning from the battle, looked at the stars and whispered to Lila, "They mocked us, but we showed them the truth." Lila smiled, exhausted but unbroken. "Yes," she said softly, "we are humans, and humans never give up." And somewhere, across every planet, moon, and space station, that truth spread like wildfire. Fragile we may seem, but our hearts, our courage, and our will to protect home are indestructible. Humanity has awakened, and we will never be mocked again. The void was silent now. The alien fleet had retreated, shattered, and demoralized, leaving behind the remnants of what had once seemed unstoppable. Humanity had endured the unimaginable, fought against impossible odds, and emerged victorious. The skies above Earth glowed faintly with the reflection of distant fires, reminders of the battles fought, but also of hope, courage, and the awakening, of a species the galaxy had underestimated. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, staring into the expanse of space. Her eyes were tired, her hands still trembling slightly from adrenaline, but her heart soared. "We did it," she whispered softly. "We survived. We fought. We proved that humanity is not fragile." Around her, the crew exhaled, tears of exhaustion and triumph streaming down their faces. For months, they had faced mocking voices, fear, and the vast emptiness of space. But now, they had shown the universe what humans could do. Across the solar system, human ships moved in quiet formation. Engines hummed gently as they returned from battle, carrying crews battered and weary but alive. Pilots who had danced through beams of alien fire, engineers who had guided every strike, and soldiers who had risked everything, all returned with the knowledge that they had made history. Humanity had not just survived the alien onslaught, they had awakened, claiming their place among the stars. On Earth, people poured into the streets. Cities that had been scarred by alien weapons now vibrated with celebration. Families embraced. Children laughed with joy, and survivors cheered for the courage of those who had fought above them. Every screen, every broadcast, replayed images of human fleets striking down invaders, of pilots like Arik Kane leading daring assaults, and of engineers turning debris into weapons. The story of human triumph spread like wildfire, igniting hope and pride in every heart. Arik Kane, returning from the last engagement, stood on the deck of his ship, looking toward Earth. Lila, his co-pilot and friend, rested her hand on his shoulder. "We did it," she said, voice trembling. "We proved them wrong." Kane nodded, eyes filled with pride and exhaustion. "We always knew," he replied softly. "Humans never give up. Humans never surrender." Around them, other pilots shared the same quiet smiles, knowing that every life lost, every risk taken, had been worth this victory. Even the alien forces retreating into the darkness would remember this day. They had mocked humanity, laughed at fragility, and assumed weakness. But they had underestimated something no machine could measure: courage, heart, and the unbreakable will to defend home. Humans had shown the galaxy that fragility did not define them. Strength did, spirit did, unity did, and that was something no enemy could conquer. On Earth, celebrations continued late into the night. Fires burned in controlled ceremonies, people sang songs of triumph, and banners flew in every city and town. Soldiers returned to their families, engineers to their workshops, and pilots to their loved ones. Humanity had endured. Humanity had fought. Humanity had awakened. And in every heart there was a quiet, unshakable pride. Humans had faced the impossible, and they had won. Commander Voss, standing on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt docks of Earth's orbital